Well, Christine, 5 seasons of The Good Wife, 5 Emmy nominations. You're the only person on the show that's been nominated every single season. Is this kind of getting old hat for you now?
Oh, no, 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 not old hat. No, I find it always such an honor and a thrill, and particularly I have to say because this is a dramatic role, and so much of my career was spent doing comedy that I've always considered this job such a challenge and such an opportunity for growth. I mean, 5 seasons, you can take your character through a lot of stories and a lot of places emotionally and learn how to be comfortable in front of a camera and grow into your character. And the fact that the work is recognized as exceptional and that I'm in a category with Maggie Smith, kind of, I'm never going to get used to that.
Well, this is your 12th overall, and you won the very first time out for Sybil back in '95.
Yeah.
Tell us about, I want to talk a lot about The Good Wife tonight, but tell us about your first time at the Emmy Awards.
Well, that nomination came after Sybil was only on the air. It was a mid-season replacement. So I'd only done 13 episodes of Sybil, and I was a new girl in town, even though I was in my early 40s when I accepted that role. I'd resisted television. So I finally, went to Hollywood and did this, character that, I only had the pilot script, but I kind of smelled off the page that this character was really witty and funny. And I took the jump, and that character just really scored. I think American audiences had never seen a martini swilling, witty, irreverent woman like that. And, the character just popped out enough. I got a nomination, and honestly, I'd never been to a Hollywood Awards show. The red carpet was all new to me. We were stuck in traffic. I barely sat down, and I remember looking down because I had a kind of bustier on, and I remember just kind of adjusting myself, and Kelsey Grammer and David Hyde Pierce came on to announce the Best Supporting Actress, and suddenly I was up on the stage. It was an out-of-body experience. But anybody who wins awards says that it's like going under anesthesia or something. You're suddenly the adrenaline just kicks in. But I'll tell you something really interesting. I was backstage having won the first award of the night when I heard that the first award for dramatic supporting actress was won by a young actress named Juliana Margulies. So we were both first-time Emmy winners at that award show, and my manager actually sent me a picture. We were on the cover of Variety, and it's the two of us as these Emmy winners, these young, I mean, so funny. Jules and I were laughing at of course, our hair.
You couldn't plan that out if you wanted to.
You could not, and I kind of hope both of us win this year just so we could put the two.
Well, for the first 4 seasons, I know you're aware of this, but every single year, one of your folks have won from The Good Wife. Juliana, we'll say Archie won first, then Juliana, then Martha Plimpton, and then Carrie Preston. So one of you is going to win this year if that holds true.
Well, I think I'll tell you what, I think the show deserved a nomination. I think the writers deserved a nomination. It was an extraordinary season. And the reason we have these nominations, Josh and Jules and I, is because the writing we were given was so powerful, so dramatic. I just tip my hats to Robert and Michelle, and I wish they had been recognized for creating such. I mean, it's 22 episodes, and so much happened in the course of that season. Certainly for my character.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment. You start shooting in the summer. I know we already know that you've been shooting season 6, the first few episodes. But take us back to the beginning of season 5. When did you realize? I know every season's a good one, but when did you realize, hey, we got something really special going on here for season 5?
Well, I was privy to the fact that Josh would be leaving before I left the season before. Jules and I were the only people who knew that he had made that decision. we also knew how he was going, not exactly, but we knew that he would be taken out by being shot. And so I lived with that knowledge going into season 5. We have writers' meetings, so I knew that the breakup of the firm was planned. I knew going in, when we started shooting, that it was going to be a very dramatic year. And for my character, it wasn't. It started even before the breakup of the firm. It started with my giving that interview to the law review and outing my partner. He then threw me out of the firm, so I literally began the year with my partner, Will Gardner, literally firing me, and we had that tremendous emotional, all those emotional scenes. And then I thought I was going to get the judgeship, and then I lost the judgeship, and then I was the one that realized something was up with Alicia and Carrie, and I wound up going to Will and saying they're planning to leave, and then we have that. But it was a very, very momentous year for Diane, and I knew it was all coming, but I also I knew that we were going to lose Josh, and awaiting that script and anticipating how that would play out was challenging, because we actually got that script that was the killing of Will Gardner right before Christmas. So on my way in the van to Connecticut, on my way to start my Christmas vacation and maybe have a holiday, I held this script in my hand and kept thinking, I don't think I'm ready to read this yet. I don't think I'm ready to read it. And I tried about 3 or 4 times to start the script, and I knew it was coming. And I put it down saying, this is going to ruin my Christmas, and I'm not ready for this. And then finally one morning I read the script, and it was so emotional, the description of his of what happened in the courtroom. And so I was living all through the holiday with the anticipation of having to shoot that episode. And of course, as an actor, you have to not anticipate that something's coming when it's something like that. Your character doesn't know. The gunshot went off, and suddenly we're all scrambling, and where's Will? And we're in the emergency room, and then we discover him. Well, I knew that was all coming as an actress, but my character did not know any of it. So the challenge was to kind of prepare for it, and yet completely be open on the day of shooting to just letting the events happen. So there was that script, and then there was the subsequent 2 or 3 scripts after the death of Will that also played out emotionally, and the reverberations and the aftershocks of his death. It was, suffice it to say, when those episodes were over, it was a huge relief, and it was just a very, very emotional year, just holding on to a lot.
Well, that very next episode following his death, when all of you are reacting, that's the one that you've submitted to Emmy judges. Tell us about that one and why that one was so emotional and good for you.
Well, for the obvious reason of, watching a character deal with something that profound. I mean, it was just, there was a lot of me in the episode. She had to walk into the law firm and try to, it was literally dealing with an event that had just happened and trying to still cope with dealing with the world and with her law firm. And I think the Kings did a wonderful job of writing how various people react to death and how they summon strength or fall apart, or they fall apart in private moments. Or I thought that episode was interesting because you see Diane fire 2 people in and with absolute a kind of laser-like clarity. One was the new girl in the office who was crying and sobbing and unearned tears. And one of the things that I think happens when when you suffer a tragedy is you just don't have time for the BS. You know, Diane had no time for falseness or for anything that wasn't real. And she also fires the high-powered client, the very, the big money guy, and she just has no time for dealing with a human being who would insist on a meeting the day her partner died. And I love when she said, that's exactly what Will would do. Will would fire you if I died. And there's something so, like, searing about it. She went to the absolute core of a situation, said, no, this is what's important in life now. And you see her play out the rest of the season thinking, what are my real priorities? What's important to me? But that episode, the episode where Will dies is at the very end of the episode. You see Kalinda and I go in and discover Will in the emergency room, but it's very brief and it's very shocking. The subsequent episode is where you see how all of us are processing it, and you see a very raw level of emotion from Alicia and Kalinda and Diane. So I just thought, well, how often do you get to show that in the course of a series where you're reacting to the death of your closest associate and friend?
Well, one episode from earlier in the season we thought you might have been considering as well that had so much good for you is called Outside the Bubble, where you're getting ready to marry Kurt and you're also getting ready to leave the firm for the judgeship. And by the way, while it wasn't for your show, you've got to be thrilled that Gary Cole gets his first ever Emmy nomination this year.
I know, such a great guy, such a great actor. Yeah, I thought about submitting that. Honestly, it was a toss-up, but, if you're in a category for dramatic acting, I don't know. I chose what I thought was the most dramatic episode, but, I'd like to think that voters also think about the body of your work over the course of a season, not just one moment, one scene, one episode. I think season 5 was by far the strongest season for Diane Lockhart.
Let's talk about your career just for a moment. We talked about it at the top as well. Just such a great awards kind of a career, and we talked about the Emmy. But this is the 30th anniversary of your Tony win. You were just right off the bat. You win for the Real Thing, and then 5 years later you win for Rumors. Tell us about that really kicking your career off.
My gosh, 30th. Well, you're the one who clocked that one. I didn't. How fun. Yeah, that was just so extraordinary to be in the company of those people, Mike Nichols and Tom Stoppard and Jeremy Irons and Glenn Close. That was just such a special, that was my first Broadway hit. It was a great play. They're about to revive it. Cynthia Nixon played my daughter. She's now about to be in the revival playing the role I originated in The Real Thing. And we were all up there and we all won Emmys. Mike, Tom, Jeremy, Glenn, and I. And, I always said that was like a trip on the Concorde to Paris. It was an actor's dream to be in that situation. And that was my first nomination, my first win, and I will always remember, and I was 6 months pregnant at the time, so that 1984 was a pretty special year for me.
Not just your first win, but you had the second 5 years later, also for Neil Simon, and you're 2 for 2. You've never lost at the Tony Awards.
Yes. Wait, no? Did I ever lose? Yeah, I think you're right. I'm 2 for 2. Maybe I better not push my luck.
No, I think people want to see you back on Broadway. You need to push your luck. One thing about Neil Simon, too, one thing that I like about you, and I told this to Glenn Close last year, I love the fact that you're willing to give back when there's something like a Kennedy Center Honors or other of those life achievement kind of things. You go and you would not only attend, but you will be part of that presentation to that person. And I remember you, I believe, on the Neil Simon one, and you seem to really enjoy that kind of thing.
Well, that was another thrilling evening of my life because it was the first time I had attended the Kennedy Center Honors, which is such an extraordinary event. I mean, you just rub elbows with the most amazing people. And I remember walking out onto the stage, and there was President Clinton and all of the eminent people in the audience. But to my left was Sid Caesar, and to my right was Nathan Lane, and I was the girl, and the three of us were doing Neil Simon. And I just thought, how did I ever get here? It was awesome. But you know, Neil writes in my Tony Award speech when I accepted for Rumors. I did say that Neil Simon, I don't know what number I was, but many, many, many actors have won Tony Awards for performances in Neil Simon plays.
Yeah, I went back and watched both of those speeches today, and I believe you said you were the 12th, and that you may have to borrow $1 million from him because you owed somebody off that victory.
My producer, Manny Eisenberg, yeah, I bet him a lot of money that I would lose, and he was absolutely convinced that I would win.
One other area I wanted to ask you about in terms of awards was the SAG Awards. You win right off the bat there as well in '96 for Sybil, but the following year, and I had Nathan Lane on last summer, we talked about this, the Birdcage wins Film Ensemble, and I've never seen more of a surprise group going on stage for that.
Well, you know, the SAG Awards didn't quite have none of the award shows back then had quite such hype to it, and we were just sitting there and having fun and, you know, just eating and drinking and goofing, and suddenly, I mean, we got that best cast. Nobody knew who was going to speak, and we were all just sort of thrilled and goofy about it. But yeah, actually, to this day, when people, you know, recognize me for whatever, you know, often they will say, "You were in the Birdcage." The Birdcage, I've seen it. You know, it's still one of people's favorite movies, and when I see it, I think it's just one of the funniest movies. I was very lucky to be a part of it.
Well, speaking of Nathan and you and so many people on your show, whether they be guest stars or regulars or Broadway veterans, whether they're musicals or plays, do you think the Kings could put together some kind of a musical version of The Good Wife, maybe in a dream format or something?
I know, we're always joking about it. In fact, just now I finished a scene with Linda Lavin in court. Linda Lavin, I worship her. We've had so many, and Michael Cerveris was in court. And of course, we've got Alan, we've got Nathan, we had Kristen Chenoweth. We're always joking that Alicia should have some kind of dream. There should be a dream sequence of some fabulous Christmas party, and all of these characters will get to sing. But it's just not. It doesn't quite fit with the tone of our show. But hey, maybe in season 15. When we're, you know, just scraping the bottom there for ideas, I think it sounds good.
Well, maybe at least some kind of charity event in New York or something. I mean, you have to put all that talent to work.
It is a lot of musical talent that's getting to do dramatic work, I must say. It's great.
One last question. You've got a big awards contender coming out in the film world around Christmas time, Into the Woods. And just a massive cast there of well-known people. And you're getting to work with Meryl Streep again, too, after working with her before. Just give us a glimpse at Into the Woods and what we can expect.
I think it's going to be absolutely extraordinary. Of course, I've worked with Rob Marshall. We won a SAG Award for Chicago. I did Mary Sunshine with him. I think he's a great visual artist, a great visual director. It's beautiful in its conception. The songs come to life because of the visuals, and it's an extraordinary cast. We had a marvelous time making it, and I'm just so happy that a Stephen Sondheim musical may, you know, stand a chance to really like that Steve's work would translate on film. I think Sweeney Todd was great, but it was more of a Tim Burton film in conception, and I think this could really be like such a great remembrance of his work. And the score, I mean, I've heard the score sung many times, you know, with this cast, and they're wonderful because they're really singing actors who do film. So it's, you know, it's a great hat trick.
Well, as you work on The Good Wife for season 6, is there any little tempting nugget you could give us that would not get you killed off like Josh got killed off?
Well, you know, Diane's just made a huge life change. So I think when people rock their world like that, when something that shocking happens, as happened to Diane and happened to her at the end of the season with Canning, you know, subverting her and grabbing the firm out from under her, she's in a brave, scary new place. And so season 6 will be, you know, the unfolding of that huge change for her. I hope we see more of her in bed with Gary Cole and, you know, just kind of hanging with Gary Cole. Everybody loves him, and God knows I like to get out of that courtroom and just kind of snuggle up with him. But let's see. I think it's going to be a great season.
Well, after this emotional last season, maybe we see you laugh at least once or twice this season.
I haven't laughed yet. I love Diane's laugh. I love Diane's humor. She used to laugh a lot with Will. I got to find somebody to laugh with.
Well, listen, thank you so much. Good luck at the Emmys. We'll see you there in a few weeks, and good luck with season 6 of The Good Wife.
Thank you so much. Bye.